much, and thanks to all the witnesses. I'll now call on our ranking member, Mr. McCaul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Secretary and Mr. Bugajski, and it's a follow-up on the chairman's question about, I'm concerned about the growing footprint in Serbia, Kosovo, and the wider Balkan region of both the Chinese Communist Party and the Russians. The Russians being disinformation campaign, the CCP with the Belt and Road Initiative to basically have PRC investments that come with strings attached, debt traps, financial implications, environmental and societal. We had last Congress, Congressman Ted Yoho, probably one of the best things this committee's ever done is we passed the Development Finance Corporation as a counter to malign Chinese activity across the globe with respect to the Belt and Road Initiative. Can you talk a little bit about, number one, the threat that's posed by the PRC and Russia in the region, and also what do you see are some of the solutions to stop that, and particularly looking at private sector investments with the Development Finance Corporation?
Mr. McCaul, is there someone you want to direct the question?
Yeah, I said at the outset to Madam Secretary and to Mr. Bugajski.
Thank you very much, Congressman McCaul. I really do think that I am very concerned exactly about the same things you are. The Russians have wanted to have a very direct relationship with Serbia for a long time. A lot of the history, even during the Tito period, had to do with that relationship. Partially what is happening is the Russians are practicing in Serbia the things that they are doing in other parts of Central and Eastern Europe, which is operating to undermine democracy there and then separate the countries from being a part of the West. And they are using the tactics of a KGB agent. That is what we're dealing with. Yeah. And so I do think they see themselves as having a natural partnership, quote, with the Slavs in the Balkans, and that kind of relationship that they think is natural and important for their own sake and for undermining what we are doing in democratic development. The Chinese have, in fact, been investing through the Belt and Road, and they have been doing it in a number of areas that are important in the region, which has to do with transportation, with mining, a number of things that the region needs. And I do think what is interesting, the Development Finance Corporation is a huge step forward, and I think something that is very important. There's been an office opened recently in Belgrade. I do think that we need to use that as a tool in terms of helping on the investment, and I also do believe the private sector needs to get in there. What is interesting, and I don't know whether this is true or not, I just read it, is that the Chinese have all of a sudden decided that maybe they can't afford the Belt and Road, literally, that they are having their own economic issues and that they're not going to be investing in much abroad. I think we need to follow that very carefully because obviously our relationship with the Chinese is going to affect not just what happens in the Balkans, but many places. So I think we have to watch. I do think we really do want to see economic development in the Balkans, and the more of it that can be done regionally, the more important it is, because there are not that many people that live in the region. The countries are small, and some kind of cooperation economically would help everybody.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I agree with you 100%. Mr. Bugajski?
Yes, I would simply add that it's important to look at the impact of the pandemic in the region. I mean, even after the vaccine is distributed and taken, assuming there are no other strains of this virus in the near future, the long-term economic impact is quite devastating through most of Europe, but particularly in the Balkans. They're going to need a lot of assistance from the European Union, a lot of assistance from us, as well as the conditions for private investment. But there are also, I would say, social and political implications of economic disruption. I mean, it sort of encourages nationalism. It encourages conflicts in the region. It encourages populists and also encourages foreign actors, bad actors who want to undermine security in the region. And this is where I believe Russia and China come in. Russia, by the way, is more of a short-term danger. I would say China is a longer-term threat. It will have ups and downs. Of course, a lot depends on its own internal economic performance and its ability to actually construct this Belt and Road Initiative. But we need to push back. We cannot become complacent. I think investments, whether through development funds, with the European Union, working closely with the United States, as well as making conditions to attract private investment. I think that's essential. Legal conditions, bureaucratic conditions, local conditions, and so forth. This is why I think the economic, establishing closer economic relations between Kosovo and Serbia is important, but I think they can only be fully equal once the two states recognize each other. And the sort of non-tariff barriers on Kosovo goods have to be lifted. And both countries need to recognize each other's paperwork, each other's legitimacy. I think all that would help us to fight back against very nefarious Russian and Chinese influence.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. McCall. Mr. Sherman.
Mr. Chairman,